Welcome everyone to the Bangkok Art and Culture Center. So this is BACC belongs to the BMA, and we hold many important events, including this one. And this is an important month, an important moment for us. I think many of us joined the parade on the 4th of June, right? Anyone joined the parade? Wow. So that's a big event. I think one of the largest Pride parade, Bangkok Pride, in the history of Bangkok. I think I heard SNC said maybe 100,000 people attend big event. But today event, right, the seminar, maybe we have 100 people here. I think it's as important as a parade on the 4th of June. Why? Because we embrace the difference of our friends, not only on the parade day. We embrace them every day, in every place, in the park, on the street, in the restaurant, and in the workplace. So I think this seminar would give us important information. I think many of the things that about this issue, I think many of them are new to us too. Because in our culture, maybe we used to do one, but I think there are many things that we can learn from our friends that they have this experience long time ago. So I think this is important. We want to be the city for the World Pride on the 2028, and I think the parade is not easy to do, but to change the culture, to change the mindset, to change the framework, laws, regulation, is much more difficult than organizing the parade. And we have to start from today until 5 years from now. So we have a long way to go. So thank you very much, Excellency and Ambassador of Sweden, for organizing this event. I think it will provide very valuable information for all of us. And I wish the seminar great success, and hopefully we can make Bangkok a livable city for all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Governor. So may I please invite His Excellency Mr. Jo Åström Gröndal, the Embassy of Sweden, to give us welcoming remarks. Thank you.
Good afternoon, dear Excellencies, colleagues, dear all friends of diversity and inclusiveness. Let me start by saying that I'm personally very grateful for this opportunity to be here today and to give some introductory remarks. What we are discussing today is so important, and events like this are truly needed, and it's encouraging to see so many of you here today. My country, Sweden, has been for a long time at the forefront of equal enjoyment of human rights for all, regardless of sexual orientation and gender identity. I think it's fair to say that Sweden has been widely regarded as one of the most LGBTQI+ friendly countries, and for that I'm proud to represent my country. In 1995, we allowed for civil unions, meaning that the state officially recognized partnerships between individuals of the same gender. In 2003, we took the next step when we allowed adoption for gay and lesbian couples, and finally, in 2009, we made the Marriage Act gender neutral. Today, we have had several government ministers from the LGBTQI+ community, and the Pride Parade in Stockholm is a much beloved yearly celebration that brings together people from all walks of life. But it wasn't always like this. Like most countries, if not all, Sweden has a dark history of discrimination and harassment of fellow citizens based on their sexual orientation or gender identity. I would like to tell you a story from 1979, 44 years ago, when Sweden still classified homosexuality as a disease. Members of the then LGBTQI+ community fought against this classification in many ways. and others too. They wrote letters and opinion pieces, they staged protests and held speeches, but to little avail. Then, and I have to say I love this story, one morning in August of 1979, the Swedish government agency that handles the general sick leave insurance scheme received a bunch of strange phone calls. A lot of phone calls on this day. Several brave people called the agency and explained, "I'm feeling gay today. So I would like to stay at home and receive my sick leave payments." The argument was as simple as effective. If you really think that we are sick, why don't you give us the benefits, the same benefits the Swedish government grants to other sick people? It took only a few months. Then the Swedish authorities stopped classifying homosexuality as this. This clever and highly creative campaign had illustrated the absurdity of viewing people as sick just because they loved someone of the same gender. As I said before, Sweden has come a long way since 1979. Laws have changed and rights have been granted, and all this is good, of course. But, as the governor also mentioned, change is not only about laws, it's about behavior. And even if you have perfect equality on paper, people can still harm others. Bullying, discrimination, prejudice, isolation, and various forms of unfair treatment can still persist. To fully include everyone, we also need to address the norms that guide our behavior, including at our workplaces, where most of us spend so much of our time, sometimes too much time. And anyone that is a manager has, of course, certain responsibilities in this regard, especially in hierarchical environments. This is not a matter of giving some people special status, quite the opposite. It's about recognizing our common worth and giving everyone the same opportunities, the same rights, and the same respect. More than 4 million people here in Thailand identify as members of the LGBTQI+ community. That's almost 6% of the population. To give all people the same respect and to fully include everyone in the work life is not only beneficial for these persons, it's also beneficial for society as a whole when emphasis is on inclusion and equal enjoyment of human rights. And it is the right thing to do. I believe we all have a moral obligation to work for this inclusiveness. For these reasons, I am very happy to stand here today, being part of this discussion and experience sharing with the Bangkok Metropolitan Administration, the LGBTQI+ community in Thailand, members of the media, decision makers, my Swedish colleagues, and others, to learn and to discuss how we can make our workplaces free from discrimination and harassment. It is indeed a very important issue, and I'm sure that we will have a fruitful seminar and learn from each other's experience. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ambassador. Could I please ask that you stay on the stage, and may I please invite Mr. Governor and the other speakers to also join on the stage for a photo session. Thank you. Are there going to be people joining us on the Zoom as well? Thank you so much. Thank you. So we would like to introduce you to the first speaker who is joining via Zoom. Ms. Ulla Perman has been an investigator in the development section at the Equality Ombudsman in Sweden. So this is a government agency that is tasked with supervising the laws regarding discrimination on the basis of someone's sex, gender identity or gender expression, ethnicity, religion or other beliefs. So, and also sexual orientation or age. So her work focuses on dialogue and networking with actors in the civil society to jointly counteract discrimination. It also involves production of material for education and information, as well as the development of the agency's outreach efforts. So it is our pleasure today to have you with us. So the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that introduction, and good morning from Stockholm and Sweden. I wish I could be there with you and to celebrate your Pride Parade. It sounds fantastic. My name is Ulla Perman and I work as an investigator at the Equality Ombudsman in Stockholm. The Equality Ombudsman is an independent government agency in Sweden, like you heard, tasked with supervising the laws relating to the 7 discrimination grounds. And I would like to tell them again to you, it is based on someone's sex, transgender identity or expression, ethnicity, religion or other belief, disability, sexual orientation or age. We supervise the Discrimination Act, but also the prohibition against disadvantaging a person taking parental leave and other regulations regarding discrimination. And our goal is a society free from discrimination. A core aspect of our work is to intervene to ensure that persons subjected to discrimination obtain redress. And we do this by, for example, receiving and investigating complaints from individuals. And then our investigations can lead to requesting discrimination compensation or also taking proceedings to court. We are also able to make supervisory decisions, and which means that the Equality Ombudsman expresses an opinion on whether an organization is in breach of the Discrimination Act. And such decisions help to clarify what the law entails and also contribute to preventing further discrimination. And now to the topic. What is LGBTQI+ discrimination and harassment in the workplace? In Sweden and in many other societies in the world, there is a widespread perception that gender identity is a matter of either or. And according to this outlook, a human being belongs to either the male group or the female group. It's not possible to belong to both groups, something in between, or something beyond that. The level of complaints of discrimination that are connected to the grounds of sexual orientation and gender identity is relatively low at the Equality Ombudsman. And these 2 grounds account for the lowest share of complaints of all the grounds in the Discrimination Act at our agency. However, we believe that the number of unreported cases is large. The situation for people with an appearance that is perceived as outside the norm by others is particularly vulnerable. Violations of dignity are often grounded in negative attitudes towards people who are perceived to challenge the two-gender norm. One environment where LGBTQI+ persons may be particularly vulnerable is, for example, changing rooms and showers at work, or when it's required to use working clothes that are gender-specific. Another example is using personal pronouns, such as she and he, when the person wishes to use other pronouns. In the Discrimination Act, also sexual harassment is a form of discrimination. It is conduct of a sexual nature that violates a person's dignity. And besides comments and words, it could also involve unwanted touching, also be a question of unwelcome insinuations, text messages, images of sexual nature at the workplace. And the person behind the sexual harassment can be a manager, or a colleague, a third party, such as a customer or a patient. And as we heard before, it's a fact that discrimination appears in places where people frequently spend more time, and that is not at least in working life and also at school. So how can we work together to prevent it? In Sweden, employers are required by law in this Discrimination Act to take active measures to prevent discrimination and also promote equal rights and opportunities. It means that employers need to cover all the 7 grounds of discrimination in a range of different areas. And the work has to be both systematic and continuous and involve cooperation with the employees as well. The employers are obligated to, during a year, apply a 4-step approach, and it includes 4 steps. And the first is investigating risks and obstacles. And 2, analyzing the causes. 3, taking measures. And then 4, monitoring and evaluating. And then they start a new circle or work on active measures. And so it continues to be better and better. And concerning sexual harassment, the employer is required to have guidelines and clear procedures for prevention and also handling of sexual harassment and victimization. And the employer also needs to monitor and follow up these guidelines, including making sure that everyone has received the information as well at the workplace. For our part, the Equality Ombudsman provides guidance to employers about how they can implement the active measures and guidelines into their workplace in a systematic way. And we also put a great value in dialogues with civil society and anti-discrimination organizations in Sweden. These dialogues are a key source of knowledge about the experience of discrimination for us at the agency. And this is a good way to work together against discrimination and harassment, and we want to highlight that. Another important tool to prevent discrimination is to ensure that individuals have effective access to justice. That there are organizations like the Equality Ombudsman that can receive complaints and bring actions to help persons seek redress. By focusing on the individual, this can raise awareness and create change on a structural level as well. This can also contribute to preventing further discrimination. Thank you for this for listening for this small presentation.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ulla. So I think we probably come back with more questions later. That was very, very insightful. So may I please invite our next speaker, Mr. Carl-Yves Wallin, who is the Managing Director of RFSL Utbildning at the Swedish Federation of Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender, Queer and Intersex Rights, or RFSL. The RFSL is a civil society organization in Sweden, and it's one of the oldest LGBTQI organizations in the world. It is working with a broad program to secure the rights of the LGBTQI plus persons, as well as, well, with over 15 years of experience, Mr. Carl has held leadership positions in diverse companies and CSOs across Asia and Europe. So in addition to his professional endeavors, Carl-Yves Wallin is an active human rights advocate. So in particular, you know, he's focused on supporting LGBTQI plus refugees. So very welcome. Like Mr. Carl, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Good morning from Stockholm. And as it has been mentioned, my name is Carl-Yves Wallin, and I'm the Managing Director for the RFSL Utbildning, an organization owned by RFSL that especially focusing on the advocating of LGBTQI rights at the workplace. And today, I will have an honor to have a short presentation on the guiding principle to prevent LGBTQI discrimination and harassment at the workplace. So I will try to share a short PowerPoint. I hope my presentation can be seen right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it can be seen. Thank you.
Yeah. Before we go to the point, probably some of you are already familiar with the guiding principles on the business of human rights, implementing the UN Protect, Respect, and Remedy framework. And in this guiding principle, there are 3 things that need to be highlighted. And using similar structure, we can also use the similar base for creating the guiding principle to prevent the discrimination and harassment in the workplace as well. These guiding principles are grounded in 3 points. The first one is a state existing obligation to respect, protect, and fulfill human rights and fundamental freedoms. This means that the government has a responsibility to uphold the right of individuals, including LGBTQ plus individuals, and ensure that discrimination and harassment is being prevented. By acknowledging this obligation, we lay the foundation for inclusive and respectful workplace. The point number 2 is the corporate responsibility. The role of a business enterprise as specialized organs of society performing specialized functions, required to comply with all applicable laws and respect human rights. This highlights the business will have responsibility to create an environment that is free from discrimination and harassment. It's crucial for business to understand their role in promoting equality and respect for all employees, regardless of their sexual orientation or gender identity. And the third point is the need for right and obligation to be matched and appropriate and effective remedies when it's breached. This means that the individual who experiences discrimination or harassment should have access to remedies that address their concerns. Businesses should have established mechanisms that allow individuals, including LGBTQ plus individuals, to report incidents and seek redress. By providing effective remedies, we ensure accountability and well-being of the employees. These guiding principles should apply to all states and all business enterprise, both transnational and others, regardless of their size, actors, sectors, location, and ownership, and or its structures. As previously has been mentioned, a business enterprise, regardless of their size and circumstances, should play an important role in this aspect. The corporation is one of the main responsibilities to prevent discrimination and harassment towards LGBTQ plus individuals in the workplace. And when it comes to the corporate responsibilities, there are 3 points that needs to be highlighted. The first one is the policy commitment to meet the responsibility. To begin, it is crucial for business to have a clear policy commitment that expressly states that responsibility to prevent discrimination and harassment toward LGBTQ plus individuals. This policy should emphasize the importance of equality, respect, and inclusivity within the organization. By having a strong policy commitment, business lays foundation for fostering an inclusive and supportive workplace environment. The second point is a due diligence process to identify, prevent, and mitigate the problems. In addition to the policy commitment, business should establish a due diligence process that enables them to identify, prevent, mitigate instances of discrimination and harassment. This process involves conducting through assessment to identify potential risks and vulnerabilities within the organization. It also requires the implementation of the preventive measures such as education, training, and awareness programs to promote understanding and respect for LGBTQ plus individuals. By being proactive and vigilant, the business can create a safer and more inclusive work environment. The last point is the process to enable the remediation. We have to take a note, despite the best effort, the incident of discrimination and harassment may still occur at the workplace. And therefore, it is essential for businesses to have a robust process in place to enable the remediation of such incidents. This includes establishing clear reporting channels, confidential complaint procedures, and conducting impartial investigation. Moreover, business should take appropriate action to address and rectify the situation, ensuring that those responsible are held accountable. By preventing effective measures for remediation, business demonstrate their commitment to create a workplace free from discrimination and harassment. Using all of these points that I have mentioned before, we can use all of those points as a ground of creating the guiding principle for the organization when it's come to work in preventing discrimination and harassment for LGBTQI at the workplace. Below are just some of the points and guiding principles that can be used when an organization developing their own guiding principle. However, all companies usually have their own guiding principles that they can use. One of the first points, the first guiding principle is actually zero tolerance for discrimination. This means that discrimination in the base of sexual orientation, gender identity, and gender expression is strictly prohibited. The second guiding principle is to establish policies and procedures to promote equal treatment for all employees. This involves reviewing and updating existing policies and to ensure they are inclusive and free from bias. The third point is awareness and education. The third guiding principle is to promote awareness and education about the LGBTQ plus issues. This can be achieved through training program, workshop, or awareness campaign. The fourth one is the diverse and inclusive cultures. The fourth guiding principle is to foster diverse and inclusive culture. This involves celebrating and embracing diversity in its all forms, including diversity when it comes to sexual orientation and gender identity. The fifth point is to have a supportive environment for the LGBTQ+ individual. This includes providing access to resource, support network, and allies who can offer guidance and assistance in the organization. The sixth point is equal opportunity and equity. The company and organization should have an equal opportunity to all of their employees, regardless their sexual orientation or gender identity. And they also need to highlight to make sure that they can eliminate any barriers or biases that may hinder career progression or development. They also need to understand when it comes to equity, which means that not everyone is having the same starting point. The seventh guiding principle is a leader commitment. Leader is a vital role in setting up the tone, values, and expectation within the organization. The eighth point is reporting and accountability. The organization needs to have, for example, a confidential channel for reporting incident, conducting through investigation, and taking appropriate action. The 9 and the 10 point is the regular evaluation and continuous improvement, which means that the organization needs to continuously evaluate and improve the process that they currently have. In conclusion, preventing discrimination and harassment toward LGBTQ individuals in the workplace needs to have a comprehensive approach and guiding principle. And this not only from the state, but also all of the organization needs to also campaign for it. Yes, I think that is my last slide of presentation, so thank you for the attention.
Thank you very much. All the guiding principles. I think it will now be very interesting to invite our next speakers, like on the stage, and maybe have some real examples to or cases to discuss. So may I please invite Mr. Christian Dasamil, the HR, the country human resource manager at IKEA Thailand, to join us. Christian has a quite broad international experience with working and leading people in a global and multicultural environment. He has been based in Bangkok since January 2019, yes. Before moving to Southeast Asia, Christian led the Global Rewards function for e-commerce group, and he was part of the team establishing a new IKEA retail organization in Mexico. So let's hear from Christian about how the organization can benefit from the inclusion and prevention of LGBTQI+ discrimination and harassment in the workplace. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon everyone. Hey, so my name is Christian and I'm the country HR manager for IKEA Thailand. As just mentioned, I'm of course very pleased to be here with you and to represent IKEA and to share with you some insights why we believe that also preventing the discrimination and doing work for inclusion of LGBTQI+ co-workers is indeed very important, and it also benefits the organization. So next slide please. So before indeed I go into the topic, of course, briefly say something about IKEA and explain why diversity, inclusion and equality is so important to us. Of course, it's linked to our vision, which is on the screen. We believe in creating a better everyday life for the many people. And of course, that vision starts with our own co-workers. So how can we create a better everyday life for them? This also means that today, actually, IKEA Thailand, as you may know, we have 3 stores today. We will be opening a 4th store later this year on Sukhumvit Road, and we're of course very excited about that. We have currently about 1,000 co-workers across the country, and with Sukhumvit we will be increasing that to about 1,200. So let's maybe then go a bit further. Next slide, please. And yeah, I think actually next month is a celebration month for IKEA worldwide, because IKEA will be celebrating its 80th anniversary. We will also soon have been present in Thailand for 12 years. And since the very beginning, IKEA has always believed in treating each other with respect. There's also always been a commitment to ensuring a fair treatment of everyone and to be an inclusive business. And that not only within our own organization, but across the entire value chain. And there's different ways for us, of course, to ensuring that. And I've given here a couple of examples of how we try to live up to that commitment. And it starts with a strict internal code of conduct, which really, prescribes that we should treat everyone with respect. Of course, this means that we should also honor the basic human rights of all our co-workers and make sure that no one suffers either physically or mentally at the workplace. This means no room for harassment, no room for bullying, and of course also no discrimination. As mentioned, this does not only limit to our own organization internally, we also put the same expectation on our vendors and business partners, who also are expected to have such a code of conduct and follow the same principles as we do. Secondly, the cultural value. Of course, we have a unique culture at IKEA, we believe, which is really fostered around our key values. And one of our key values is about togetherness, and tillsammans, which is really the heart of everything we do. This means that everyone is important, every voice should be heard, and we of course try to acknowledge, involve, and trust everyone in a culture of humbleness, respect, and honesty. Linked to that, we actually also believe that by working together with people with different views and really trying to look, take a different perspective on problems, we come up with, different solutions, and that's also a factor that contributes to our success. Sustainability, of course, sustainability is also top of mind for IKEA. It's actually part of one of our other key values, which is about caring for people and planet. And that, of course, means a lot of things. Of course, it means that we try to create an environment where living a healthy and sustainable life is more accessible and affordable for the many people. We, of course, support IKEA's global commitment to become, climate positive and circular. But most importantly, it's also about being fair and inclusive and really valuing everyone for the differences. We believe actually that having also a co-worker force that is diverse and that in all aspects, in all dimensions, the co-worker force should actually represent also our customers and should represent also the communities in which the businesses are based. By doing that as a business, we are more relevant and we will also be more successful. Next slide, please. So, how good are we doing today at IKEA Thailand? What you see on the screen is actually a recent co-worker survey that shows that more than 90% of our co-workers feel included in the organization. And more importantly even, they believe that everyone, irrespective of background, can be successful in the organization. Of course, we're very proud of this outcome, but we also still have to be humble and recognize that we should aim for 100%. So of course there's still more to be done to make sure that each and every co-worker really feels included. Next slide, please. So being fair and inclusive matters. So why is that? First of all, we believe that it's the right thing to do. I think as the ambassador also just mentioned previously, it's part of our DNA to always lead with respect and diversity. Everyone should feel safe, and everyone should be able to bring their full and unique selves to the workplace. Very important. Secondly, a lot of research also from the World Bank and other recognized institutions will show that discrimination or exclusion or stigmatization of LGBTQ plus co-workers, etc., actually leads to an economic cost. Not only for the people concerned, but also their families, the companies, and actually the national economies in general. There is a clear correlation between workplace bullying and poor physical and mental health. to possible depression and even suicidal thoughts. All of this, of course, has a very negative impact on labor time, on productivity, and investing into human capital. Thirdly, we are convinced that indeed giving a sense of belonging to everyone will lead to a more sustainable and a better business. As mentioned already, having co-workers that represent the community, that represent the places where we do business in all dimensions actually leads to a better business. Next slide, please. So when we talk about the more sustainable and a better business, of course I would like to share a couple of benefits that comes from different research around it. So what are those benefits for organizations? First of all, it's about innovation. Having diversity of thought, having diverse groups of co-workers will increase your reach out to a bigger talent pool, more creativity and more innovation. Research actually shows that having a more diverse co-working force will indeed increase your innovation by up to 20%. And that, of course, through both generating of new ideas and also better decision making. Of course, it would be a pity not to reach out to that talent force. Second, productivity. Productivity can also lead to higher trust, job satisfaction, increased employee engagement, retention and well-being. And all of that, of course, has a positive effect on productivity. Market expansion. Research also shows that consumers are more likely to buy or consider buying products from companies or marketing and advertising that is linked with a positive message around diversity. And this indeed also gives you a market opportunity. Fourth, the talent pool. Being let's say inclusive of LGBTQI co-workers also makes you more attractive as an employer, in particular to the younger generations, as you may know. LGBTQI plus co-workers in general are actually also very loyal co-workers, and they will indeed put a greater trust in employers that show a diversity in staff. Last but not least, the workforce performance. Of course, if you work in an environment which feels safe, where you can be your true, unique yourself, you will be much better in performing than in an environment where you're discriminated against or are confronted with all kinds of bias. So I think looking at all these different benefits, of course, these economic benefits actually go beyond just organizational development. They can also provide new business opportunities and new customers. I think it needless shows that indeed including the LGBTQI+ co-workers, having a discrimination-free environment actually leads to a better and a more sustainable business. So with that, last slide please. I would just like indeed to conclude that at IKEA we provide a safe home for everyone, and I want to thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much for that. Yeah, I thought that was very interesting to learn that being inclusive is also economically beneficial. Okay, so may I please invite our last speaker, Kun James Rasmi Kare Fagerlund, to the stage, please.
So our next presenter is a very familiar face in Thailand, and Kun James moved from Thailand to Sweden, like when he was 9 years old, right? And but then you later moved back to Thailand to join the showbiz, right? So he is multi-talented, I've heard, and starring in many TV shows and movies, but you're also a professional volleyball player, right? And used to win in the boxing shows as well. So let's hear from your experience today about the LGBTQI+ visibility, discrimination and harassment as a member of the community himself, who has lived in both Thailand and Sweden, and as an entertainer in Thailand's show business. So please, the floor is yours.
ขออนุญาตพูดภาษาไทยใช่ไหมฮะครับก็ง่ายที่สุดแล้วนะฮะก็ในการอธิบายจริงๆก็ด้วยความที่เราอยู่2ประเทศมานะฮะเราก็จะรู้สึกเห็นความแตกต่างนิดๆนะฮะในสังคมของ LGBTQI+ นะฮะที่ได้เห็นระหว่างไทยกับสวีเดนนะฮะซึ่งอันนี้ก็ต้องขอบอกกันว่าจริงๆแล้วเราก็ถามตัวเองว่าพยายามหาคำตอบให้ตัวเองครับว่าการที่เราเป็นแบบนี้อะไรคือสิ่งที่สำคัญที่สุดแขไม่รู้ว่าหลายคนจะคิดเหมือนแขไหมแต่แขมีความรู้สึกว่าการที่เราได้เป็นมนุษย์คนหนึ่งที่ได้ใช้ชีวิตในเวอร์ชั่นของตัวเองอันนั้นคือความสุขที่สุดละของการที่เราได้เป็นมนุษย์คนหนึ่งไม่ว่าในสถานที่ทำงานหรือว่าสถานที่ต่างๆในสังคมซึ่งรวมถึงเรื่องความปลอดภัยต่างๆแค่ว่าอันเนี้ยเป็นสิ่งที่วิเศษที่สุดละที่เราพอจะทำได้นะครับแล้วถ้ามีคำถามว่าการที่เราจะเป็นที่ยอมรับในสังคมซึ่งแขพยายามมากมายเลยแขลองอะไรหลายๆอย่างมากมายว่าเฮ้ยเราต้องเล่นละครให้ขำที่สุดเราต้องชกมวยให้เก่งที่สุดเราต้องวิ่งมาราธอน42กิโลต้องทำเวลาที่ดีให้สุดสุดท้ายแล้วเนี่ยทำมาทุกอย่างเลยครับเราโพสต์ลงไปใน Instagram ในสื่อโซเชียลมีเดียของเราก็เห็นว่าโอ้โหทุกคนต่างๆชื่นชมเราคุณเก่งมากแต่ถามคำถามที่เรากลับมาได้เราเป็นความรู้สึกว่าเฮ้ยมันใช่หรือเปล่ามันถูกหรือเปล่าเราต้องพิสูจตัวเองถึงขนาดนั้นเลยเหรอ LGBTQI+ ทุกคนต้องทำอะไรที่มันเหนือยอดมนุษย์ใช่ไหมเพื่อให้คนในสังคมที่ยอมรับไม่ใช่ครับแขเป็นคนรู้สึกว่ามันไม่ใช่แต่สิ่งที่แขได้รับจากประสบการณ์ทั้งหมดที่แขทำมามันทำให้แขถามว่ามนุษย์ประเภทไหนนะฮะที่สามารถวิ่งเข้าเส้นชัยได้ผู้หญิงเท่านั้นหรือเปล่าผู้ชายหรือเปล่ามนุษย์ประเภทไหนนะฮะที่สามารถเป็นแชมป์มวยได้ผู้หญิงหรือเปล่าผู้ชายหรือเปล่าแล้วมนุษย์ประเภทไหนที่จะสามารถอยู่ในที่ทำงานและเป็นคนที่ทำงานเก่งที่สุดผู้ชายเท่านั้นใช่ไหมผู้หญิงเท่านั้นใช่ไหมจริงๆมันไม่ใช่ฮะมันเลยทำให้เราเห็นว่าจริงๆแล้วเพศเนี่ยถ้ามองไปจริงๆก็คือรสนิยมส่วนตัวซึ่งเป็นเรื่องส่วนบุคคลการที่เป็นมนุษย์นอกจากเราจะ respect กันแล้วก็คือไม่ทำร้ายกันละให้เกียรติกันในการอยู่ด้วยกันแล้วเนี่ยเรื่องความเป็นส่วนตัวอันนี้เราก็ต้องเป็นอีกอย่างหนึ่งนะฮะที่เราควรจะ respect ซึ่งกันและกันเราจะไม่พยายามเข้าไปค้นหาหรือว่าไปมองว่าคุณมีรสนิยมประเภทไหนเราจัดคนคนนั้นว่าอุ๊ยคุณเป็นคนประเภทนี้ไม่เอาอย่างนี้ไม่ได้เพราะอย่างที่บอกนะฮะรสนิยมเป็นเรื่องส่วนตัวแล้วเพศไม่สามารถวัดกันได้ในเรื่องของการทำงานในเรื่องความสามารถในเรื่องขีดจำกัดของมนุษย์ครับเพราะฉะนั้นแล้วสิ่งที่ทำอยู่ทุกวันนี้นะฮะเมื่อก่อนก็ถามว่าตัวเองมีชีวิตที่โอเคแล้วหรือยังถามว่าทุกวันนี้ตัวเองมีชีวิตที่ดีแล้วแต่มองกลับกันไปฮะ LGBTQI+ เนี่ยจะไม่มีวันหมดไปจากโลกนี้ถามว่าทำไมเราถึงต้องมานั่งทำกันอย่างนี้เพื่อตัวเราเองไหมก็ไม่นะเราอยู่สวีเดนจดทะเบียนสมรสแล้วทุกอย่างเรียบร้อยแล้วแต่ถ้าเรามองกลับไปเนี่ย LGBTQI+ หลายคนเนี่ยที่ยังใช้ชีวิตอยู่อย่างเช่นในประเทศไทยเนี่ยเขาจะได้อะไรเจเนอเรชันต่อไปเนี่ยเขาจะได้อะไรและสิ่งหนึ่งที่แกเป็นความรู้สึกว่าแกรู้สึกสะเทือนใจนิดนึงนะในเรื่องของการที่ประเทศเราเป็นประเทศท่องเที่ยวมีแคมเปญหลายๆอย่างที่เปิดการท่องเที่ยวต้อนรับเกี่ยวกับ LGBTQI+ เราไม่ได้อยากให้มองว่าเฮ้ยประเทศไทยปลอดภัยนะคุณมาเที่ยวเนี่ยคุณจะเป็น LGBTQ+ คุณเที่ยวได้เต็มที่เลยมันคือที่ปลอดภัยของคุณนะคุณสามารถเอนจอยความสุขเรามีทะเลสวยเรามีอะไรทุกอย่างแต่สิ่งหนึ่งที่ไม่อยากให้ผู้ใหญ่มองข้ามเลยนะครับนั่นก็คือ LGBTQI+ ทั่วโลกครับเราเป็นห่วงความเป็นอยู่ของกันและกันเมื่อมีคำถามที่เกิดขึ้นว่าเขามีความสุขมากในการที่มาเที่ยวประเทศไทยแล้วมีความรู้สึกว่ามันปลอดภัยจริงอ่ะเฮ้ยมันเป็นสวรรค์ของ LGBTQI+ แล้วสิ่งที่ LGBTQI+ ในประเทศไทยที่ไม่ได้นะฮะอันนั้นคือคำถามมากกว่าที่เราถามกันมันเลยเกิดภาพที่มองเห็นถึงความย้อนแย้งเพราะฉะนั้นแขกเลยมองว่าจริงๆแล้วเนี่ยฮะปัญหาที่เกิดขึ้นเนี่ยฮะไม่ว่าจะเป็นการดูถูกดูหมิ่นกันทำร้ายร่างกายบูลลี่กันเรียกข้อความต่างๆพวกนี้สิ่งหนึ่งที่แขกอยากให้เกิดความเปลี่ยนแปลงขึ้นนะฮะนั่นก็คือในเรื่องของกฎหมายนะฮะในเมื่อพยายามบอกเท่าไหร่พวกเราพยายามตะโกนเท่าไหร่ว่าพวกเราคือคนปกติเพียงแค่รสนิยมของเราเนี่ยมันไม่เหมือนกับคนส่วนมากหรือว่าไม่เหมือนคุณหรือว่าไม่เหมือนคนทั่วไปเราพยายามตะโกนเท่าไหร่นะฮะเสียงมันดังมากแต่พอไปถึงฝั่งที่มนุษย์ยึดถือในการใช้สังคมนะนั่นก็คือกฎหมายถูกไหมฮะเราใช้ชีวิตภายใต้กฎหมายข้อกำหนดทุกอย่างเดียวกันหมดแต่ตรงนั้นเรากลับไม่ได้เพราะเรากลับเป็นคนที่มีความรู้สึกว่าเอ้าทำไมเราไม่ได้สิทธินั้นล่ะทำไมเรามันแปลกตรงไหนเราผิดอะไรตรงไหนเราถึงไม่ได้สิทธินั้นเพราะฉะนั้นหลายครั้งที่เราได้ยินฮะไม่ว่าจะเป็นคำว่าประเทศของเราเมืองของเรากรุงเทพของเราทุกอย่างที่เป็นของเราแต่สุดท้ายแล้วพอเรากลับไปถามในด้านกฎหมายปรากฏว่าอ๋อเฉพาะคนกลุ่มนี้ฮะคุณไม่ได้เพียงแค่คุณชอบผู้ชายมันเลยเกิดการย้อนแย้งขึ้นเพราะฉะนั้นแค่ว่าการแก้ไขปัญหาพวกนี้หลักๆเลยนะฮะก็ต้องขออนุญาตนะฮะฝากผู้ใหญ่ไว้ด้วยนะฮะว่าตอนนี้โลกเรามันไปไกลมากแล้วฮะทุกอย่างมันเริ่มเปิดขึ้นแล้วฮะมันปิดบังกันไม่ได้ต่อไปแล้วฮะกับคนที่มีรสนิยมกับเพศสภาพที่มันหลากหลายเพราะฉะนั้นให้โอกาสพวกเรานะฮะเปิดโอกาสให้พวกเราได้มีความรู้สึกว่าเราได้ใช้ชีวิตอย่างเป็นมนุษย์ในเวอร์ชันของเราได้ดีที่สุดและอย่างท้ายสุดนี่แขกอยากบอกไว้ฮะคำว่าความรักครับมันไม่สามารถตัดสินได้ว่ารักของคุณคือรักที่ดีที่สุดทุกคนมีความรักในพาร์ทเวอร์ชันที่ดีที่สุดของตัวเองฮะเพราะฉะนั้นก็ฝากผู้ใหญ่ไว้ด้วยนะฮะก็หวังว่าในอนาคตนะฮะจะเป็นอีก 40-50 ปีเราไม่ต้องมาฉลอง Pride Month กันแล้วเพราะว่าทุกคนเท่าเทียมแล้วครับ
Thank you so much, King James, for those remarks. So I think we've heard from 4 very different speakers from very diverse backgrounds, but with a very unified goal in achieving equality for all. So now we've got some time, and it's time for the audience to engage as we come to the Q&A and the discussion part. So please, anyone has any questions? Yes, please, the lady on the left. Sorry.
ขอบพระคุณค่ะดิฉันอุทัยวันจากผู้แทนจากสำนักงานอัยการสูงสุดค่ะอยากจะเรียนถามผู้บรรยายท่านไหนก็ได้ว่าในประเทศที่ท่านมีประสบการณ์เนี่ยการข่มเหงรังแกหรือการระรานเนี่ยมีความรับผิดทางอาญาไหมคะในประเทศของท่านเพราะว่าประเทศไทยเนี่ยประมวลกฎหมายอาญามาตรา357เนี่ยนะคะถ้ามีการข่มเหงรังแกทำให้เดือดร้อนนะคะจนถึงขนาดเนี่ยมีความรับผิดทางอาญาแม้ว่าจะเป็นฐานความผิดละหุโทษซึ่งเป็นความผิดขั้นต่ำมีโทษปรับไม่มากนะคะแต่ทำให้มีการดำเนินคดีอาญาได้ซึ่งอันนี้ก็จะเป็นมาตรการในการป้องปรามอย่างหนึ่งไม่ให้บุคคลข้ามเพศนั้นเนี่ยถูกข่มเหงรังแกนะคะแล้วก็ดิฉันก็อยากจะเรียนเป็นข้อมูลในฐานะเป็นตัวแทนจากหน่วยงานที่บังคับใช้กฎหมายว่าประเทศไทยเนี่ยมีการปฏิบัติในเรื่องความเสมอภาคทางเพศโดยเฉพาะในองค์กรที่เป็นภาครัฐภาคราชการนะคะ เมื่อ 20 กว่าปีก่อนเลขาธิการสำนักงานคณะกรรมการข้าราชการพลเรือนคุณหญิงทิพาวันเมฆสวรรค์นะคะดิฉันอาจจะพูดชื่อนามสกุลท่านไม่ถูกนักแต่ว่าเมื่อ 20 กว่าปีก่อนเนี่ยเราได้มีการกำหนดให้หน่วยราชการเนี่ยมีการทำแนวปฏิบัติในเรื่องความเสมอภาคทางเพศมาแล้วนะคะเมื่อ 20 กว่าปีก่อนแม้ว่าในยุคนั้นจะเป็นเรื่องเพศหญิงและเพศชายก็ตามแต่คิดว่าหลักนี้ก็ยังคงอยู่ในภาคราชการมาจนถึงทุกวันนี้ว่าบุคคลทุกเพศนั้นจะต้องได้รับการปฏิบัติอย่างเสมอภาคกันนะคะแล้วก็ย้อนมาถึงในปัจจุบันเนี่ยมีพระราชบัญญัติความเท่าเทียมทางเพศพ.ศ. 2558ซึ่งกำหนดให้มีการวินิจฉัยว่าการกระทำที่เป็นการเลือกปฏิบัติเนี่ยจะต้องมีความรับผิดแล้วก็ต้องชดใช้ค่าเสียหายแม้แต่การคัดเลือกทหารนะคะพระราชบัญญัติรับราชการทหารที่มีการคัดเลือกแล้วไม่คัดเลือกบุคคลข้ามเพศเป็นทหารโดยระบุในเอกสารทางทหารว่าเป็นโรคจิตถาวรปัจจุบันเนี่ยเมื่อปี 2554 มีคำพิพากษาของศาลปกครองกลางแล้วว่าถ้อยคำที่ใช้ในเอกสารของทางราชการนั้นให้เปลี่ยนเป็นการใช้คำว่าเอกสารอาการลักษณะของบุคคลข้ามเพศนั้นเนี่ยเป็นการมีพฤติกรรมที่ไม่ตรงกับเพศกำเนิดแต่ไม่ใช้คำที่มีลักษณะทำให้ด้อยค่าศักดิ์ศรีความเป็นมนุษย์ในเรื่องอาการป่วยทางจิตนะคะเป็นคำว่ามีเพศสภาพไม่ตรงกับเพศกำเนิดนะคะอันนี้มีคำวินิจฉัยของศาลปกครองกลางรองรับไปแล้วอันนี้จะเห็นได้ว่าพัฒนาการของประเทศไทยเราก็มีมาไม่น้อยก็เลยขออนุญาตที่จะเรียนให้ที่ประชุมได้ทราบขอบพระคุณค่ะ
Thank you very much. So I think I should try to summarize that into very short sentence that คุณอุไรใช่ไหมครับ just who is what is the English word for that? Oh yes, sorry, the highest prosecutor. She's mentioned a long list of Thai laws which are in place to protect the rights of the LGBTQI+ community, including against bullying and not just in workplaces but anywhere. So there are some laws in place, but maybe you had some other laws in mind, or was it?
ขออนุญาตในส่วนตัวนะฮะก็มีเพื่อนที่โดนตีอะไรอย่างเงี้ยปกตินะฮะที่เป็น LGBTQ อะไรอย่างเงี้ยฮะก็ขึ้นศาลเป็นปกติที่สวีเดนนะฮะแล้วก็แจ้งความขึ้นศาลได้รับค่าชดเชยค่าเสียหายผู้กระทำก็ได้ผิดได้รับโทษอันนี้นะฮะอันนี้ในหลักของสวีเดนนะฮะที่แขกเคยสัมผัสมากับคนใกล้ตัวนะฮะก็เป็นหมดทุกอย่างที่นู้นค่อนข้างจะเท่าเทียมกันนะฮะในกฎหมายโดยจะไม่มีแยกว่าคุณเป็นประเภทนั้นคุณเขาเรียกว่าอะไรอ่ะเป็นเหมือนว่าใช้คำที่มีความรู้สึกว่าเฮ้ยเราเป็นโรคประหลาดหรือว่าอะไรต่างๆอย่างเงี้ยฮะแล้วส่วนที่เหมือนเรื่องอาหารเหมือนกันนะอันนี้เป็นประสบการณ์ส่วนตัวนะอายมากก็ง่ายๆเลยฮะไม่สบายใจก็ไม่ต้องเป็นนะฮะอันนี้ง่ายๆเลยส่วนใครที่มีความรู้สึกว่าอยากแล้วอยู่ในข้อกฎเกณฑ์กำหนดของเขาทั้งหมดก็ตามสบายเลยแล้วแต่ความพึงพอใจของตัวเองครับ
Thank you very much. But maybe that was also a question to Ulla, who is maybe got more insights on the kind of laws that are in place to protect discrimination against LGBTQI+ people. Sorry, you're on mute. So I think the question was in your country, I like what are the laws that are in place? And I think you already mentioned that there are quite a few laws in place. Are there any maybe examples of how they've been applied?
We are the Discrimination Act. My agency works with the Discrimination Act, and then there's criminal laws if you are if you for example, if you are harassed with violence concerning the discrimination or your sexual harassment that are with violence, then it's the criminal law that, because my agency only works with the Discrimination Act and also prohibition for discrimination for parental leave. But I don't work at the with the legal unit, so I don't work as much with the laws. So I don't know what else I can say about the special laws, except the discrimination laws.
All right. So any other remarks? Like Carl, like any examples of law enforcement in Sweden?
I'm not 100% sure as well. However, I know that all of the Arbetsgivare, or like the organizations who employ people, they're also responsible for the work environment of the employee, and that is also observed by the Arbetsmiljö organization, in which that even in small things, like even probably just like not really harassment, like not into the up levels of the harassment, but for example, the victimization or bullying can also be prosecuted in a sense. I mean, in a sense that the organization also responsible to minimize even to the level of as smaller as possible. That's what I know.
Okay, thank you very much for the input there. Okay, Pantata.
I may add to Christian and everyone on the panel, just simple question. What should be the policy about the public toilet? And what is your policy on IKEA on the public toilet? Yeah.
It's an interesting question, and to be honest, actually we haven't we haven't really had so much discussion around this so far. I think it seems to work quite well, and people feel. But it's a good question actually. To be honest, it's something we still have to look into. But I would of course say, I think in principle, I think it's about again being respectful for people, and ultimately it's about allowing people to go there where they feel most comfortable, and giving that freedom to them.
In Sweden, like many public toilets are genderless, so it's yes. So it's I think it's gender neutral toilets in Sweden. So I'm not sure whether we could import some of the ideas to Bangkok.
Well, thank you. Just going back quickly to the previous questions on different legal provisions. There's a wide range of legal provisions in Sweden regulating all kinds of could be harassment, of course, could be discrimination, could be hate crimes, and so on and so forth. But in any country, what is more important than the actual legislation, because that is, of course, serves as the basis, it's the implementation and how you are being treated when you seek justice. That is perhaps even more important. I think that we have come quite far in my country, and it's of course up to each and every country to have their own legislation. But I think we have a shared responsibility to everyone that is working on these issues should take them seriously, and should of course also not only live up to the legislation and implement it as should, but also to treat everyone that is seeking justice with respect. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, there is one in the back. Like one question in the back.
Hello, sorry, I have a question to Mr. Christian. May I ask you a question? If discrimination and harassment happen in the workplace, how could you deal with it appropriately?
Okay, so indeed we have different ways of reporting, misconduct, if you want, or discrimination, or that's basically, we have a grievance procedure in place, I would say, which is normally the preferred way of going, where you would normally either through your manager.
ขอบคุณที่ติดตามขอบคุณทุกๆข้อความขอบคุณทุกกำลังใจแล้วพบกันใหม่สวัสดีครับ